Now, if you asked anybody, any group of people living in any city in India, take a large group of people, ask them which is your favorite airline, I will guarantee you that 8 out of 10 of those people are going to say Indigo. Now, if you ask them why Indigo is your favorite airline, 8 out of those 8 or 7 out of those 8 are going to give you the exact same answer, which says they're always on time. Right, I'm with the President and Executive Director of what has become India's favorite airline in a very short period of time, Indigo, and I'm sitting with Aditya Ghosh. So Aditya, I'll talk to you about your rockstar nature in a little while from now. Now, being on time is not rocket science strategy. It's, I would imagine, the bedrock of the aviation industry and of the transportation industry, and yet you have turned that into the cornerstone of your strategy. What is it that Indigo saw that no other airline in India saw? Being on time is pretty obvious to me.
Yes, I think, not just in the airline business, in most businesses, what tends to happen is that as businesses become bigger and as the industry matures, the tendency is to move away from the basics.
Okay.
And we tend to kind of forget what the customer really needs versus what are all the things that the customer really wants. And
but you could equally argue that the customer wants to be treated in a fancy airline, to fancy food,
absolutely,
by glamorous people, and you'd also be right about that.
Customers want a lot of things. The only problem is they don't want to pay for it.
Okay.
so the issue really is that how do you figure out what the customer needs,
okay,
what the customer is willing to pay for, and then can you do that over and over again really well?
Okay.
And that's really, yeah, in some ways nothing uniquely different about Indigo except that the consistency.
And yet there is something uniquely different about Indigo. The level of profits that you're reporting and the health of your operations reflects that being on time is only one piece of your strategy. What are the invisible pieces of your strategy that a consumer may or may not be able to see?
I think the aligning the team. We're 6,500 of us. We're spread over 35 different locations, from old constrained airports like, let's say, in Agartala to a brand new airport like Delhi. How do you kind of create a consistent performance across the network, different countries, different times of the day, different types of people, and the consistency comes from that aligning of the team. So in some ways, I think the very core of our strategy is getting everybody together behind one goal, and then kind of doing that over and over again.
How much of this came from your personal experience as a flyer?
I think it came more from the fact that I think it came more from Rahul, who's our shareholder, and Rahul is a very detail oriented guy, and at the same time delegates beautifully. So therefore, he lets me be.
How can he be both? How can he be detail oriented and delegate?
That's an amazing
Normally
thing.
Detail oriented people are not delegators. They do things themselves.
He'll watch for the details, and but at the same time he really believes in the team.
Okay.
And that then kind of came through. And the other is that as somebody said that from the coffee stain on the airplane, you'll also kind of at some point in time it'll be a reflection of how well the plane is getting maintained.
Okay.
So for us, that clean galley and the clean carpet and the clean tray table is as important as the maintenance of the aircraft.
And the color blue, is there a psychological reason for the airline being largely blue?
I think the color blue was more to do with the India and then the Indian team and all of those kind of things, and
no larger psychological connotation of being a clean airline or efficient airline.
No. I think it was more to do with Indigo itself. Has a long history with Indian history, and the other is, and it's also India on the go and all of those things.
The other pillar of your success, if I may be so bold to guess, would be an investment in technology. You are big investors in technology.
Absolutely.
You use technology in the front end, in the back end, both from a customer service point of view, and I would guess from an enterprise point of view. The customer end we get. Tell us about how you use technology at the enterprise end to run the airline.
So before I answer that, as a low-cost airline and as a business which is so focused on cost, it doesn't come naturally to go make big investments.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the tendency is to go save costs in a lot of little places.
Okay.
But the problem with penny pinching is that you're pound foolish. And for us, therefore, whether it was our reservation system, whether it is our operations control center, whether it's our dispatch system, from day one, because we had the advantage of knowing we'll get 100 planes, 150 planes, we invested upfront for anything that was scalable
Okay.
or had a good impact on productivity.
Okay.
So, so as long as it passes those two filters, we've invested a lot in technology. We're the only airline to have a completely centralized operations control center. Every plane, all the time, is getting monitored, and we know exactly where the plane is, what are the maintenance actions on the plane. So when our on time, which is what we're known for, when it's measured and it says 1621, it is 1621. There is no human
Indigo
intervention.
standard time.
Indigo
I keep
standard
hearing
time.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, so all this sounds very fancy in theory, Aditya. How do you prevent what we call principal, or economists call principal agent problems, of you being motivated by certain motivations to
Yes.
run on time, but people down the line don't share the same motivation as you? How do you do this constant process of aligning everybody to saying our goal is to be on time and let's do everything in order to get there?
Absolutely, and I think it's not just the members of the team, but also your associates and your vendors and all the other business partners who come with you. And that happens if everybody understands what the larger goal is and what is the very important piece that individual is playing in that big chain. And when you make that individual feel important and that person's job is really important, then you feel motivated.
Okay.
And I think that is what the difference is.
So are you India's Southwest Airlines? Are you significantly different from Southwest?
You
Well,
know,
everybody
yes.
keeps calling you the equivalent of Southwest because your philosophies seem to align.
But I think
in
it's a
many areas.
disservice to Southwest. Southwest is an amazing airline, an absolute
Okay.
legend. They've been around for 40 years and being successful. I hope we're successful 40 years from now.
You hope to be to match up to that tag of
we'll
India's
grow up to be Southwest. I guess.
That's Aditya Ghosh being excessively modest. So Aditya, let me ask you a question about the industry. Simple question. What is the matter with Indian aviation? Why are we in such trouble?
I think ego comes in the way of wisdom.
Okay.
And people forget that cost is a big driver.
Okay.
And we lose focus of ourselves. About a year back, I was in an award ceremony and somebody asked me the same thing, and I said, we must look within and see, what we are.
Is the problem within?
For.
Is the problem without? Is the problem with the regulation?
See,
of
the
the
problem
sector?
without is everywhere, and
Okay.
absolutely, fuel taxes should come down, airport charges should come down, so that more people can fly. But a large part of the problem is within,
Okay.
because I think many of the businesses don't run them as
Okay.
businesses.
It's partially run by hubris and partially run by effective decision making.
Yeah, I think.
If we draw a parallel to the mobile sector, which was
Yes.
roughly liberalized at the same time
Yes,
that the aviation
yes.
sector was, in Mumbai we have 14 different mobile service providers. Right? Why isn't the airline industry seeing this level of healthy competition? Why are there so few airlines in India?
Because actually, it doesn't matter how many airlines there are. There have
Okay.
to be more airplanes.
Okay.
If you have 50 airlines with one aircraft each, it's still 50 aircraft. But if you have 6 or 7 good sustainable airlines with 100 planes each, this could be a really, really different industry.
Okay.
Absolutely, there should be more competition. Creating new airlines is a much more difficult thing. Bringing in more airplanes in the country is far easier and far better for the consumer.
The American aviation system is tremendously unhealthy, save for a couple of exceptions. Do you see us going down that road? Will we avoid those pitfalls, or are we headed for in that
what
direction?
happens is, it happens all around the world. The airline business is such where a large number of players do badly, and there'll be a few who will be complete outliers. So the American aviation industry going through bankruptcies, and for every 100 airlines that fail, there will be a Southwest, there'll be a JetBlue, there'll be a WestJet, and that is what happens around the world. So there are a few.
But should the
who
100
do-
be failing in the first place?
Yes, but a lot of it is to do with how each person thinks they're going to manage their costs and things like that.
All right. Final question for you, Aditya
Yes.
Ghosh. We have you run the airlines. You don't really run the airports.
Yes.
Why are so many airports so annoying for customers in India?
Yes.
Going to an airport, leaving an airport is an unpleasant experience. Getting onto an airline is a good experience.
Thank you.
But once I get off the plane, it's no
Yeah.
fun anymore.
Because I think we've not concentrated enough on making the airports more efficient. We need to.
This in spite of privatization.
Yeah,
in
and,
many
and
cases.
we need to recognize that people don't really want to spend very much time at the airports. They want to
Absolutely.
get there just before the plane takes off and get out of there
Get
as
out of
soon
there
as they
quickly.
can. So if we can make it more efficient, then that's what it's. For us, that comes. We are trying to play that role through customer service.
Okay.
But yes,
But
we
there
do
are parts
have our
you cannot
constraints.
manage, like
Yeah.
security lines, for instance. We have
Security line. Why do we have to? I can't think of another part of the world
That stamps.
where we have those stamps on
Okay.
on the blue stamps on these things. So it'll change.
It'll change.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Change is
eternal
going to come,
optimistic.
but I would guess change is going to be slow. Final question. A quick outlook for the next year or two for the Indian aviation sector.
I think it's going to be better than the last couple of years.
Okay.
A lot of demand,
Okay.
not enough supply. There's a huge opportunity for the businesses to grow.
Okay.
But I think obviously I'm quite certain that the big growth and the big success stories will happen on the low cost sphere of it.
From a consumer point of view, will prices come down again to?
They should absolutely come down. But for that, we will need airlines to do their thing, but we will also need
The government to do its
the
bit?
government to do its thing with bringing out, because ultimate cost of travel for the traveler must come down. That's the only way this industry.
So if I read you right, things are going to get a little worse before they get better, or they're going to get better from here onwards?
It's going to get better for us.
Better for us. Right, and hopefully better for the consumer as well. That's Aditya Ghosh, President and Executive Director, like I said, of India's favorite airline, and certainly my favorite airline, Indigo. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.